In this lesson, we're going to go over the cosine law. So if you recall, in the previous lesson when we were learning about the sine law, we learned that you have to know a pair of an angle and a side in order to use the sine law. So what do we do if we don't have a pair of an angle and a side where we know both of those measures? And in this case, we're going to use the cosine law. So there's two versions of the cosine law. The first, they're the same formula, they're just written in different ways, and you can use the different versions depending on what you're solving for. So if you're solving for an unknown side, that unknown side squared will be equal to the two other sides, both squared and added together, minus 2 times the side times cosine of the angle. So in this formula, A is the side you're trying to solve for, and the angle you use is the angle that opposes that side. So in this example here, we don't have an angle and a side pair that we know. We have a side and an unknown angle, a side and an unknown angle, and then here we have an angle and an unknown side. So we can't use the sine law for this triangle. We need to use the cosine law. So in this case, this equation uses A, B, C, and B, C, A, right? You can mix those up. So here, the angle that we know is angle C, and we're looking for side C. So when I use the cosine law, I'm just going to switch up these variables. C is the side I'm looking for. So C squared will be equal to, I know sides A and B. So A plus B minus 2, and then notice these two are those sides again that I know. So in our scenario here, that's side A and B, and times, I'm running out of room here, I'm going to just squeeze this in underneath, times cosine of angle C. So when I plug in these values that I know, I get that C squared is equal to 7.65 squared plus 3.04 squared minus 2 times 7.65 times 3.04 times cosine of 92, because that's the angle C. And when I do all of that in the calculator, just have to apologize, I'm kind of squished in here. I'm going to move this up. So cosine C was up there. So we've got 7.65 squared plus 3.04 squared minus 2 times 7.65 times 3.04 times cosine of 92. And that equals, so C squared equals 69.4. Now that's C squared. I need just C. So in order to solve for just C, I'm going to do the square root of 69.4. So the square root of 69.4 is equal to 8.33, and this is in centimeters. So that's the length of side C. Now, this is the appropriate formula to use when solving for a side. If you want to solve for an unknown angle, we can just sort of rearrange this formula. So I've done that work for you. Basically what happens is we're going to move our cosine over, and then we're going to move B squared and C squared, and then we're going to end up dividing by 2BC. and there's some sign changes that happen and things like that. This is the formula that we're left with. So if you have an unknown angle, whatever your unknown angle is, you're going to take your two side lengths squared and add them together, and then you're going to subtract the side length that matches this angle. That's the one that gets subtracted. So if you're looking for angle A, you're going to subtract A squared. And then you're going to divide by 2BC. So if we look at this triangle here at the bottom, we have angle A and side A, angle B and side B, angle C and side C. Now we're looking for angle C. So I'm going to rewrite this formula using angle C. So cos of angle C is equal to, and it's going to be equal to these two sides, the ones that are just adjacent to the angle, not opposite. So A squared plus B squared. And I'm going to subtract the side that goes with the angle I'm looking for. Then I will divide by 2 times these adjacent sides again. So 2AB. So if I then plug in my values, I get cosine of C is equal to 6.36 squared plus 7.91 squared minus 11 squared, all divided by 2 times 6.36 times 7.91. And when you do all of that in your calculator, be really careful with your order of operations. So the easiest way to do all of that in the calculator is to put brackets around all of this and brackets around all of this with the division in the middle. So on here, I'm going to do an open bracket, 6.36 squared plus 7.91 squared minus 11 squared, close bracket, divided by, open bracket, 2 times 6.36 times 7.91, closed bracket. I get cosine of C is equal to negative 0.792. But I need just C. So remember, in order to get rid of this cosine, I'm going to use cosine inverse. Very similar to in the last lesson when we used sine inverse. So, second function, cosine of 0.792. We get an angle of 37.6 degrees. That is the measure of angle C. So be very careful when working with your cosine law. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to the angle and the side that correspond with one another, and make sure that you adjust your equation accordingly.